What I like to do is let people like Simon take the risk, and so the strategy I like to do has a low level of risk. And what we're going to do is we're going to rent out some shares, okay? So renting out shares, and I'll explain how that works. You can learn to make money while you sleep, but it's a good idea not to sleep during while you're learning to make it, okay? Otherwise, I can't guarantee it's going to work. So you're about to learn some strategies which has freed many Australians from working, some within a matter of weeks, a matter of months, certainly within a year or two. There's no reason a person in this room could not be replacing their income within inside the next 24 months, would be my belief. Many within 12, many within 3 or 4 months. Is that worth staying awake for? Okay. Some people say, Jamie, I've got to go to a job tomorrow. You know, these seminars run so damn late all the time. I'm sort of like thinking, well, if you learn this stuff, you won't have to go to a job tomorrow. Okay? Different mindset, different way of thinking. Okay? Job will become a choice. Here's what we've got to understand. Draw a line down the page. On this side, we're going to do a comparison very quickly. Traditional business. You're going to invest in a traditional business versus a share renting business. In other words, it teaches you how to rent out shares. And we're going to see what is the best strategy. Because there is risk involved in this, but as I said, less risk than what most of you are taking right now. If you were to buy a traditional business, what might a traditional business cost? Could you spend $100,000 on a restaurant, coffee shop, corner store? Let's say $100,000, you spend a lot more actually. Let's say $100,000. And let's verse $100,000 in a share renting business, and let's see what sort of business you prefer to have. You'll see why I love these sort of businesses. Okay, so $100,000, if you're going to borrow for a business, is it difficult finance, yes or no? Very difficult. So difficult they're going to want security on your house. Does that increase the risk level of a traditional business? If those who are in business or ever thought about it, yes, the risk is high, extremely. In other words, the business fails, you lose your house. Does that happen to a lot of Australians? Yeah, see, the banks aren't stupid. They know 80% of businesses fail in the first 5 years, and the 5 years after that, 80% of those that make it past the first 5 years will fail. That's why they want the house as security, because they know they're going to get the house. Okay? The average Australian doesn't know that because they get sick of working for their idiot boss, and they decide to become the idiot boss. Okay? Instead of getting a guaranteed paycheck, you know, working 5 days a week, they now get to work 6 or 7 days a week. Okay? With no guaranteed paycheck. They work for nothing. But it will make a profit one day. Then we'll pay ourselves. And one day usually never comes. So they work, the lifestyle is not good. So 6 to 7 days a week, low income generally. Many times they don't even take a guaranteed salary. What else is great about a business? Stress. Yeah, there's usually a little bit of that. What about a thing called staff? In business, you often have to have staff. You better put that down. Okay. Now, having staff, it's a little bit like having staff in companies often say, having staff is like, you know, having an adult daycare centre. Think about it, okay? But it's actually worse than an adult daycare centre because, you know, in an adult daycare centre, you'd actually get paid for looking after them. But in business, you have to pay them. It's even worse. So staff can be a major headache. Stress levels. Fixed location, you have to live near where the business is. It's another thing. So we're obviously not going to be selling you a business franchise tonight, are we? Okay. It doesn't look too good. But many people do that. Okay. What I'm suggesting is there's going to be risk to our alternatives, but let's compare it to our risk. You could put a job here, your career. You might have to pay 100 grand up front for your career, but if you stop working in your career, do you get paid? So there's not a lot of job security there. If you don't work, you don't get paid, so there's risk to that. You probably don't work 6 or 7 days a week. Maybe some of you do, but maybe only 5 days a week. Your lifestyle, you still have to live near where you work, which is a bit of a challenge. See, one of the reasons I moved to Noosa, I have a summer home in Noosa. I used to live in Sydney. And Sydney's a great place to live, but you know, you can buy mansions in Noosa for about 30% of the price than in Sydney. You know, a $5 million home in Sydney is not always that nice. Yeah, they're still expensive. But you could buy a house nicer in Noosa for $1 million. Okay? So if you don't have to live in a fixed location, you can live in a much nicer part of the world. Okay. Anyhow, let's look at a share renting business as a difference. What you'd probably find with $100,000 and you say, well, I don't have $100,000 to rent out some shares and buy some shares to do this with. Well, you could borrow that money. To borrow money for shares, is it very easy compared to any other form of finance? If you're not aware, the answer is yes. Easiest form of finance I think that exists on the planet. Okay? You could be bankrupt, you'll still be able to get the finance. In this, you'd need, though, in a share renting business, you're going to need at least 30% deposit, and you can borrow the rest. However, I'm not suggesting you do that. I'm suggesting you probably, if you're going to borrow to set up a business like this, that you put in 50% deposit and you borrow the 50. Okay, if you're going to do that way. Or you can just use the 100 grand if you've got 100 grand as an example. But getting finance is easy. Will they want security against your house? Yes or no? No. Bonus. Less stress. The only security they want is the shares you're buying in the first place. Obviously, they have more value than a business. Can you liquidate your share renting business in 30 days or less? Yes or no? You can get rid of it and you cash it in. Get your money back in 30 days or less. Okay? Traditional business, try and sell it in 30 days or less. Not much chance. In 3 years or less, not much chance. Okay? For the money you put into it, you can lose a lot of money in those things. You can also make money, but it's much higher level risk. Liquidity is good. Lifestyle is great. Does it take 6-7 days a week to manage this sort of thing? No, it takes about 5 minutes a month. Literally. You can narrow that down to about 30 seconds after a couple of months. All is a phone call. Do you have to live near where you work? No, you can live anywhere in the world. In other words, you could be laying on a Hawaiian beach, make a phone call back to your broker, and yet your month's work's done. You can stay holidaying for another month. I love this strategy so much. I love the snow ski. Went to Whistler some time ago. We have a place in Whistler, Canada, and went to Whistler. And before I flew off to on the plane to fly over there, it was going to cost about $4,500 for a week holiday in Whistler, Canada. And I don't like to spend money. You know, learn of becoming wealthy, you tend to get good at managing money. You don't like to spend it. So I thought I'm going to create some new money for this. And so I just ring my broker and say, look, I need $4,500 to pay for the week's trip. Could you arrange and put that in my bank account tomorrow? Okay, not a problem. All I have to do is tell him to rent out X amount of shares. In that case, I told him just to rent out 3,000 shares. 3,000 shares, then every next day, $4,500 into my bank account. Used to pay for the holiday. Amazing. Okay. Amazing. Let me show you how that works. So in other words, you can operate it from anywhere in the world. Yes, there's risk to this, but I love the risk compared to everything else. Let's compare it to a car, shall we? We know what happens there. Let's compare it to anything else. The risk factor is quite good. Okay, I want to get you comfortable with that. Okay, so turn the page. Draw a line down the middle of the page. On this side of the page, put Simon's name. I'm going to explain to you what Simon does in his strategy, because we're going to do the opposite of that. And what we're going to do is just put my name up here. We're going to rent some shares. And let's explain how we do that. To do what I do, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to buy some shares. You've probably figured that by now. You'll have to buy some shares. Many of you in the room already own some shares. Or you might be able to use your parents' shares or whatever. You're going to have at least 1,000 shares. At least 1,000 shares. Ideally, you're going to do this strategy with blue chip companies. Blue chip, if you're not aware of that, you know, the big companies that make billions of dollars of profit are likely to stick around for more than 30 days. Okay? They're likely to stick around for many years. So then we've got to decide which